What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Leading Off with Brodes. I'm super excited to see this Philadelphia Phillies squad go up against deGrom, go up against this Mets team after they just did what they did against the Atlanta Braves. It's going to be very special. The problem is it's Matt Moore on the bump, so it's almost like we're heading into this thing kind of questioning, hey, what's going to happen? Hey, you're somewhat off to a bad start here knowing the pitch-up matchup, but it almost fascinates me even more. We've seen this lineup grind through the Braves. They were grinding through Max Fried. They were grinding through Ian Anderson. There was a fifth and a sixth inning grind in that second game as well. So, look, I want to see, can they battle through deGrom, who is on a 100-pitch count? We are being informed. Not that I expected many pitchers to hit that triple-digit number from a pitch count standpoint, but it does seem like the Mets came out and made that statement. All right, so if you are new to the show, this is Leading Off with Brodes. It is a Phillies pregame show, and we have something called the batter's box. So why don't we go to the batter's box now? All right, first up, deGrom versus Matt Moore. That is the pitching duel. Now, what needs to be said about the man that will be wearing the New York Mets uniform today? Not much, all right? Here's his ERA over the last 3 seasons. If you lived under a rock and you didn't know what he provided, here's what he did. A 1.70, a 2.43, and a 2.38. Oh, jeez. This is going to be very interesting. But courtesy of John Clark, here are some statistics that might leave you a little optimistic when it comes to Bryce Harper versus this deGrom matchup. All right, so according to John Clark, Bryce Harper is hitting 289 career off of this man with a 913 OPS, a 413 OBP, and a 500 slug, which ranks first out of all players with over 40-plus appearances against deGrom. And during Coffee with Brodes today, I got a bunch of questions. Hey, Brodes, what do you think? Do you feel like this is going to be the day that Bryce Harper is going to get his first home run of the season? And I countered by saying, I think. Maybe I didn't. At least in my brain, I thought this. Sometimes I forget what actually comes out of my mouth, which can get me in trouble. But anyway, I digress. When you think about the opposite field home run that didn't go out in game 1, or was that game 2 against the Braves? It was game 1. Aaron Nola was on the mound. There was so much wind, and Dansby Swanson should have went yard. Freddie Freeman should have went yard as well. Bryce Harper should have had his first ding-dong of the season that game, opposite field, and he was robbed. But I was asked, hey, is this the night? And I said no. But those numbers possibly can say, hey, there's more of a chance than you're giving him, Brodes. Here's a counter to all that. Andrew Knapp! Andrew Knapp should be the one that gets the opportunity. God damn what he did the other night. And not only that, if we date this back to just a little short while ago, I have the video saved in my camera roll of Andrew Knapp going opposite field on Jacob deGrom. And I'll never forget hearing the announcers on the New York Mets broadcast. You got to be kidding me. Yeah, you're damn right. That's Andrew Knapp, baby. All jokes aside, though, will Bryce Harper get his first stinger of the season? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to necessarily be the case, but we will find out. I'm a little concerned, though, because what I saw out of deGrom in spring training, yeah, it was sensational. Now it's just spring training. But he's the type of guy where you can look at what he does in spring training and say there's enough of a track record that dominant performances, they just snowball right over. All right, and he's hitting triple digits on the gun, and he's giving you 100 miles per hour. And now you don't have Aaron Nola. You don't have Zach Wheeler. You don't have Zach Eflin. You're going to a man that, well, if you look at his last 2 seasons in Major League Baseball, not even giving you the Japan statistics that I know will probably tickle everyone's fancy because it's the best that you have gotten out of Matt Moore in quite some time. But if we're going to date back to 2017, if we're going to date back to 2018, which was the last time he truly had an opportunity in the bigs, you're talking about a 5.52 ERA and a 6.79 ERA. All right? Now, here's the difference. Because everyone says, oh, I'm so nervous of the 4 and the 5. I'm so nervous about our 4 pitcher and our 5th pitcher in the starting rotation. That's everyone. That's every team. That's every organization. Once you think about your top 3 dogs, yeah, I mean, you're going to have more trouble with your 4 and 5. That's inevitable. There's a reason why they're your 4 and your 5. So you got to pray that the offense will get yourself clicking a bit, and then you can rely on your bullpen. You're going to have to actually say it with me, rely on your bullpen. But if you have any optimism from what you've seen through the first 3 games this series, or this season, I should say, in the first series, well, then, yeah, you should feel all right about that opportunity. What scares me is this, because I heard Corey Seidman talk about this on 97.5 The Fanatic today when speaking with Mikey Miss. He brought up Vinny V, David Hale. Like, these are the type of games where you might have to look at those type of bullpen pieces, those longer relief guys, and I'm so sick and tired of Vince Velasquez. But if we're going to be honest with ourselves, these are the type of games that those guys get thrown in there more times than not. I don't know what you are going to see, though, when it comes to Matt Moore. I just don't know. I'm interested. The fact that you get a lefty in the rotation, that's something that, I'm excited to see because you got a lot of these righties in there. All right, let's see what that lefty can do. Let's see if that does anything. I don't know if it's going to do anything, but we'll find out. I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting for 7:05. That, and you got the Flyers game. I don't even want to think about the Flyers-Bruins matchup at all. Can Matt Moore keep it close? That's the question. If you're going to look at it historically here, Jacob deGrom does seem to struggle when it comes to run support. So let's say the Mets only find a way to plop in 1 or 2 runs. Would you feel okay about that? Absolutely. Now, this Philadelphia Phillies, lineup hasn't been so perfect at the plate. Timely, very situational hitting, and enough to just pounce on the right opportunity, whether it was the 8th inning against the Braves, where Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, and Alec Boehm finished the job off, whether it was game 1, just getting enough. You could have scored more runs early on. You left a few guys hanging. You had a lot of traffic on base. You were able to knock in Andrew McCutcheon with the fly ball at the left field, just doing it the old-fashioned way. They were situational. Will that be enough if they're not able to actually, really crucify deGrom? And I don't expect them to crucify deGrom. Will Matt Moore be able to keep it close? That is the ultimate question. There's 2 ways to somewhat look at this Mets team, though, when facing a guy like Matt Moore. One, it's something very similar to what you saw against the Atlanta Braves. Freddie Freeman, Ozuna, Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna Jr., they really did have a tough day at the office. And I relate that to them struggling because they haven't had a time yet. They haven't had enough time to really get a groove and get accustomed to playing and seeing real pitching and it being real baseball again, not so much spring training. So will that give the benefit of the doubt to Matt Moore? The other side of it is Matt Moore not really being in those high-pressured situations. Okay, now it's no longer spring training, dude. Now you're getting your opportunity. Are you going to make the most of your opportunity? There's probably going to be some anxiousness involved. There's probably going to be a little bit of those butterflies, but those good amount of butterflies, the exciting butterflies, where you're ready for the moment. But the real question is he going to be able to deliver in the moment? So as much as, hey, the Mets need time to somewhat get readjusted to real pitching and readjusted to real regular season baseball, same could be said about Matt Moore. Hey, you got to get readjusted here to Major League Baseball. You're going up against a lineup that can do some damage, all right? Francisco Lindor, there's going to be some juice and there's going to be some jump in what they're able to provide because, look, it's a new era, baby. It's a new era of Mets baseball. You got Francisco Lindor. You got Cohen. They haven't been able to play any sort of games yet. So there is this level of excitement from their entire clubhouse that the Phillies might not necessarily have because they already experienced that motor and they already experienced all those emotions when they ran out of Citizens Bank Park for the first time against the Atlanta Braves. Pete Alonso. You see the guys that have killed this team along the way, even if they're not, quote, special guys or, quote, game-changing guys. There's always Mets players that end up killing the Phillies non-stop, and you have to be aware of that. Now, I did see a donation come in here that I would love to give credit to. This is from Philly fans in South Dakota with the $2 donation. Let's go Phillies. Ring the bell early and often. Please do. Please do. And if you're talking about winning games and ringing the bell, yes, please do. If you're talking about home runs, yes, please do. This is where I feel optimistic about where this team can be hitting the baseball. In 3 games, you had 1 home run from Andrew Knapp. There's no way in hell this team is going to be that. There's just no way. And we will definitely get into this lineup more, no doubt about it. I want to touch on one more thing when it comes to Matt Moore. In spring training, he did end up getting early in the counts, getting into where he wanted to be. Attack early. Get into a spot early where you are in control. Don't fall behind. Don't give them 2-0 counts, 1-0 counts. Get on the board early and work from in front. Get that first strike, and then from there, attack. Get comfortable and make sure you are dictating the play. Make sure you are on the mound. You're feeling yourself. You have the confidence. Get out in front of these Mets hitters to make them think, to make them question what's coming next. Be in control of these counts more times than not. That's something that he did do in spring training where we were intrigued by him. We saw some really good stuff out of Matt Moore. It all started with that right there. Get ahead. Get into those 0-1 counts. All right, why don't we go back to the batter's box? All right, this is the ultimate question. What we saw from Ian Anderson, the changeup was disgusting. There's no doubt about it that Ian Anderson's going to be a stud, and there's something to be said about that filthy changeup that fooled hitters left and right, and it will continue to fool hitters for the rest of time. That's how special a player like Ian Anderson is. But I go back to when you look at Zach Eflin, and with Zach Eflin being at 23 pitches after the first inning, Ian Anderson being at 27 pitches after the first inning. Then after the 5th inning, Zach Eflin's at 54. Ian Anderson's at 88. There's something to be said about the professionalism of these at-bats. It might not be as powerful and lethal as we want it to be right now. You're not seeing the Phillies crucify the baseball, murder the baseball, squaring it up every single time they have runners on base. They have struggled with runners in scoring position. It hasn't been long enough to truly concern me yet, but there is a part of that where it's, hey, they need to add to that layer where they can maybe get themselves up 2-3 runs early, or they can get themselves on the board 3-run lead, 4-run lead, and then it's a lot different than, hey, it's 1-0. And if Zach Eflin made a mistake, if Aaron Nola made a mistake, and there happened to be a solo home run or a 2-run shot, all right, now it's only 4-2 instead of 2-2. I'm not saying they don't need to get better in that area, but I just watched these guys grind through counts. And you know what? Didi might strike out, but it'll take 7, 8, 9 pitches to do it. Bryce Harper, there was that 3. And look, this is more of a product of the disaster umpire behind the plate that last game against the Braves. That honestly was disturbing to see. As a sports fan, please be better. Don't give me Angel Hernandez garbage. I think I wrote down to say Brian Knight is his name. What a trash can behind the plate. Seriously. I'd rather have, when you play Little League and there's that father who manages one of the other teams in the local Little League and you got to rotate who's the umpire. I'd rather have one of those guys than Brian Knight ever again. But I want to bring up the fact that Bryce Harper, 3-0 count. It was a count in his favor. There was a pitch up high, and he puts his bat down. He starts taking off the guard. What's that? You're telling me that happens to be a strike, you sick son of a bitch? All right, whatever. It seemed like Bryce Harper wanted that anyway because he wants to hit the baseball. Now it's a 3-1 count. Please give me the green light even more. I'm ready to pound this baby. Tips it off. Now it's full count. But it goes from 3-0 to 3-1 to 3-2. Now you're fouling pitches back. Now, it should have been a walk on 4 pitches anyway, but guess what? Circumstances will dictate what's going to happen. Bryce Harper then in the same spot, honestly, this just shows you once again how pathetic Brian Knight was. It ended up being a nasty off-speed pitch that should have been the strikeout. And that was more of a strike than the first pitch, that on the 3-0 pitch. But anyway, my point is the grinding of Bryce Harper, making your opponent work. It's not going to be easy against Jacob deGrom. But guys, this stretch of the lineup, there's not much breathing room. If you're deGrom, you don't need breathing room. I know that, and I'm going to stress it over and over and over again. Jacob deGrom is probably the best pitcher we will ever fucking see. He's that amazing. He's that tremendous. But there is something to be said about Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm, Didi Gregorius having to work through those hitters. And Andrew McCutchen as well. You could throw Gene Segura in there too, just to add substance. Obviously, Kutch before Rhys Hoskins, and then he got Gene Segura later on in the lineup, and they add value to that mindset and that question that I'm asking, for sure, no doubt about it. But the meat to the bones is in between Rhys and Didi Gregorius, and I just think that there's an opportunity to really work him through, really grind him, and then try and get to the bullpen as quick as possible. And as long as the Mets don't get the run support, and that's pretty standard for this club when deGrom is on the mound, well, then maybe, just maybe, there's an opportunity here. You just have to be timely. You just have to be getting those situational hits when you need to. Let's say deGrom walks a hitter, very rare, I'm with you, walks a hitter, and then there's a little dinky hit that gets through, and now you got two men on. Hey, if it just takes that one, maybe that's when Bryce gets it. Maybe that's when Bryce gets his bomb. Maybe that's when Bryce gets you on the board for the first time with this homer. Now you're up 3-0. Look, anything can happen. And I saw these stats when it comes to the betting odds of all these top-tier pitchers that started off on opening day, and it was a lock. You look at the money line, and it's a no-brainer. You go with Garrett Cole. You go with these top pitchers. And I don't think it's a wrong philosophy to bet on the teams that have their aces pitching on opening day. My point, though, is if you look at what happened throughout the start of these opening day games, some of these big-time pitchers that you would have thought was, hey, a really good chance to cash out and win some money with your DraftKings Sportsbook app. And by the way, you can go download DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code Brodes for all great odds and promotion boosts. All I'm saying is you should do it and maybe throw a little money on that money line Philadelphia Phillies, because I do feel while the easy pick is deGrom, I'm telling you, there's something to say about that value on the Phillies, on that money line. Just saying. Long at-bats, to get back on track here, long at-bats, fouling the ball back and making Jacob deGrom work. Can the Philadelphia Phillies do it? Not going to be easy, and they're definitely climbing uphill, but I'm fascinated to see the results. Let's now go back to the batter's box. Can the defense continue to be this stellar? I thought heading into the season that they had a problem defensively. I wasn't sold on Alec Boehm. And realistically, before Didi Gregorius signed back with the Phillies, I had a question about Gene Segura at shortstop. That was something that definitely raised my eyebrows a bit. Not that he's terrible, but he's not great either defensively. Ironically enough, him and Alec Boehm have both made some pretty nice plays defensively in the field. I just wonder, can this defense really be this? Is this who they are? When you talk about the Phillies down the road, 40, 50 games into the season, are we going to say, well, you know something that they commonly do? They commonly continue to throw out great defense. Excuse me as I take a nice fat gulp of this smart water here. Got to quench the thirst with some electrolytes. I do have concerns at first base. I don't really know, and I saw it on the base paths, but I don't really know everything about Andrew McCutchen yet. Everyone sees that he can tag up better, and there was a lot of talk from Joe Girardi about what he is with his legs. It looks like he's got a little bit of that energy back, and he's got a little bit of that pop back when it comes to just utilizing his body at his age, coming off of that massive injury. So there is something to be said about that, but I don't know. I haven't seen him run around enough. I haven't seen it enough out of him in left field. He hasn't been tested enough. But we saw Didi Gregorius make two amazing plays as he's running into the outfield. The one was just sensational, right? Over the head, over the shoulder, sliding backwards, late into a game where you really needed to have a defensive play. So he's been awesome. Alec Boehm with some rockets down the third base side. That's good. I am a little more worried about, and I think it's gotten better. Let's be clear. I think Alec Boehm has put in the work. You could see that he has been putting in the work. He might not ever become a reliable source over at third base, a reliable player defensively, but he might be a guy that can hold his own. And that's realistically all I can ask for out of a guy that you know is going to have flaws in that area. He's not known to be some great defender. So can you hold your own, Alec Boehm? I think you can. But there is something to be said about charging a ball, maybe a little dinky little hit. He's charging the ball, and he's throwing on the run, getting it over to Rhys Hoskins. Sometimes it's a little short. And then you got to rely on a player like Rhys Hoskins to be able to make that secondary part of the play. And that's where more red flags really come up in that area with Rhys. I don't feel confident in him protecting some of these balls, making sure he scoops and stays in front of the ball. There is a concern there. I like what I've seen out of Boehm. He's made some really nice catches, really nice plays with that 6'5" body frame where he's able to get up, he's able to snag it, and a huge first game, 6th inning, Aaron Nola. I mean, it was beautiful the way that it was Ozuna crushed to Alec Boehm, just snags it out of midair, and then what does Aaron Nola do? Darno gets Kane on the outside corner. I was ready to run through my wall. I was ready to fucking jump up and start streaking. I was so pumped up on that big-time 6th-inning pitch that made me get all going. That was amazing, and it all started with those defensive efforts. I've seen Gene Segura catch some nice line drives. A little bit of a joke getting thrown out on the broadcast. Did he catch it, or did the ball find Gene Segura? When the ball's hit that hard and you're in the right place, sometimes it just finds you. But there's no doubt that the defense of this team has been great. Let's also bring up Roman Quinn. Roman Quinn's gun in the outfield. And while everyone's talking about that play, and they should be talking about that play from Roman Quinn's perspective, because he got thrown in there late. Adam Hazley was out of the game due to an injury. That was the hamstring injury. You just get thrown in there, knowing you're battling for your life, knowing you're battling for a spot here in the lineup. How about JT Realmuto? The fact that JT Realmuto properly ended up getting the ball, blocking the plate too, where it's not an uncomfortable block of the plate where the umpires nowadays have to go back and check. I mean, he all did it in a fluid motion, and he did it the right way, and he applied the tag. And I just feel like that aspect of the play isn't getting discussed enough. It was beautiful, and that's another element of the defense. Not that we are really concerned about it, because we know what JT Realmuto does bring to the table. All right, we got another donation coming in here, a $5 donation coming in from Cosmicon. What are your realistic season numbers expectations for Rhys Hoskins now that he doesn't have to be the 4-hole RBI home run hitter? That's a fantastic question, and I have definitely changed my expectations on Rhys Hoskins. Not that I don't think he's good, not that I think he's bad by any means, but I don't think you need him to be the guy that he once was. I actually like him in the 2-hole now. I think the team has more power. The team has more professionals. The team has a stacked lineup. So the pressure that was put on Rhys Hoskins to be the version that he was when he came onto the scene, he's not that guy. And that's fine. He doesn't necessarily have to fully be that guy. It's hard to expect and demand a player to keep up that type of pace throughout 162. You get that pace throughout stretches. I would like that stretch to be significantly longer, but what I expect out of Rhys Hoskins is this. If you're asking me fairly, what do I expect out of Rhys Hoskins? I expect a really solid OBP, and even when he's struggling, I expect him to work walks. And you want to talk about what I think this identity of the team is going to be, which is make pitchers work and really force them to get a high pitch count. Whether he strikes out or not, whether he misses those meatballs or not, whether he's swinging through those pitches or not, here's what I do know that he does. He works, all right? And he's going to make you throw a lot of pitches. He puts together professional at-bats, and he sees a lot of pitches. What I need out of Rhys Hoskins, my expectations, is just a really solid OBP, a lot of walks, and let's say, because here's the crazy part. Like, we looked at the other year. Let's pull up his stats specifically and look at what he provided 2 seasons ago where we weren't overly excited. He hit 226, right? So not good by any. I would say that's probably the lowest of the low that you would get for Rhys Hoskins. What you got last season, 226. In his worst season, he's giving you 116 walks, one shy of 30 home runs, so 29 home runs and 85 RBI. If that's what you get at the worst version of Rhys Hoskins, and by the way, a 364 OBP, if that's the worst version of Rhys Hoskins, like fair expectations, a little bit better than that, but 116, a little bit better than that from the batting average perspective, I'd say. But if you get 116 walks, 30 home runs, 85 RBI, 364 OBP, like, come on, right? Like, out of your 2-hole, that's where you're going to get that amount of walks in front of Bryce Harper. There was a time where I would have hated that. There was a time where I thought that would have been a disservice for us as Philadelphia Phillies fans. But you made improvements. You acquire JT Realmuto. You bring in Didi Gregorius. You bring in these studs. That Alec Boehm actually is a legitimate, unbelievable talent that actually worked out from your minor leagues, to the point where you're going to be talking about Alec Boehm as one of the better players in the game, hitting-wise, no doubt, in the league. Alec Boehm, I truly believe, he's so raw and young in his career, and he's already so great at it. As he continues, he is just going to get better and better and better. And thank you so much, Cosmicon, for the $5 donation. I really do appreciate all the support and the fantastic question. And if you are wondering, there is a batter's box section that will be opened up to the comment section to ask for you to ask some questions. We will get to that as we continue with the batter's box. But yeah, the Rhys Hoskins thing, there was a time where I couldn't stand it. And with Alec Boehm, you get him, you just get these hitters that know what they're doing. And it makes Rhys Hoskins less stress, all right? Less of having to put so much on his back. And maybe that just makes the game easier for you. I think there's a lot to be said about that. All right, why don't we head back to the batter's box? Maybe I should change the actual banner instead of taking some sips of water. I'm a little thirsty today. I went around town. I went for a nice long walk. I started to sweat a little bit because the walk was long. I had a fat frappuccino. I'm a little dry mouth. You know how it goes. So I could probably crush like 5 gallons of these. I don't drink enough water. There's no denying it. I don't drink enough water. All right. Here we go. Will the bullpen hold up? And that is going to be a lot in this series, I think. Going up against not only deGrom, but Stroman as well. This is going to be possibly one of the difference makers in this series. If you were going to come out strong and find a way to win the series 2 out of 3, you're going to have to rely on this bullpen. Now, there is a little bit of shakiness involved with Hector Neris. Here's my concern. It gets a little bit close. It's a 1-run game. And Hector Neris has been utilized in the last couple. He's been used. I mean, the guy has been used, and you had him in a high-leverage situation. Well, all the time because he's a closer, but you had 2 men on. You had 2 outs. Ozzie Albies hit one to the warning track power. You probably shouldn't have struck out Ronald Acuna Jr. You got a little lucky with a super low pitch that was called a strike due to the poor umpire behind the plate. The blue was stoned. He probably did some meth. I don't know. It sure looked that way. So Hector Neris, if this comes down to Hector Neris having to come into the game, I'm going to be a little nervous just based off of the usage lately. And here's something that stood out to me while Hector Neris started to get into a little bit of trouble. You saw Connor Brogdon step up, and Connor Brogdon was getting loose into the pen. I'm really excited to see what Connor Brogdon's role is going to be. He faced some adversity. He answered the bell from the adversity as well, which, gets me pumped up from a guy who's so young and raw in his career. He faces a spurt where he's got to go down, and then he gets called back up again, and that's when he attacks even more. And it's like, hey, you know what? I learned a lot from that. That was a statement to me. That was a wake-up call. That was a slap in the face. That showed me what I needed to do, what I could work on, how I could add. And now Connor Brogdon's a guy that's, hey, here's a moment where Hector Neris is struggling. Let's go to Connor Brogdon. Not only that, he pitched in that 10th inning in the extras with a man on second base due to the stupid rule, of course. Got help defensively, yes, but Connor Brogdon being that player that it looks like Joe Girardi is going to look at as, hey, we're in a high leverage spot. We need to go to you, dude. Here you go. Getting thrown right into the fire. So, I'm looking at the late game situation stuff, but it does seem like you're starting to get a sense of what Joe Girardi wants to utilize. Jose Alvarado, Archie Bradley, Hector Neris, Connor Brogdon, those seem to be the guys. And in this series, based off of the pitching matchups, you're probably going to have to use them and use other players as well. Nobody knows what to expect out of Vince Velasquez. And here's the thing. You might say, yeah, you do. 4 innings and 95 pitch count. But that's not what he's going to be used for. He might be used for long relief innings and all, but that's not the same as starting. So I don't know in this new role of long relief pitcher what Vince Velasquez is going to be. The problem was never for Vinny V. Not never. Trust me, there's been inconsistency for the kid, no doubt about it. But one of the knocks was what? Pitch count, getting high up, not being able to put away batters. Once you get to the third time through the lineup, this guy was going to get destroyed nonstop easily at will. He was going to get crushed. You don't need that now, though, right? Like, you don't need him to do that. You don't need him to go through the lineup 3 times. You don't need him to go over 5 innings and keep his pitch count low. He doesn't have to worry about that. Now, I am not saying that I am going to be optimistic if Vinny V touches that mound. I am not saying that. He's at the point where you got to prove to me, dude, that you could fit in this new role. I've seen you fail way more times than you succeeded. And I'll never forget that 16K game. Back in the day, I was working in a warehouse at a solar company, a family solar company, working in the warehouse, had it on the radio, and I was like, damn, this Vince Velasquez kid is going to be an absolute stud. Shame on me. Shame on everybody. But I wasn't the only one to get fooled out of a 16K performance. Come on, you see Vinny V in the pinstripes, and you see him dealing that way and striking out everyone. Of course you're going to believe that's what's going to happen. Of course you're going to believe that's the version you're going to get every single time he touches the bub. That's what you're supposed to do. Get sucked into the nonsense and believe that's really who Vinny V is. But I don't know what he's going to be. I don't know what David Hale is going to be. We need to start seeing some of those earlier relief pitchers, and this is going to be the opportunity to do it. So for this batter's box question, will the bullpen hold up? You got usage out of Hector Neris. You got an emotional ride out of Jose Alvarado. One day it was phenomenal. The other day it was a little bit wonky. And I just want to go back to what I saw out of Corey Seidman the other day that was just bonkers. I asked the question, is this good? Let's see here. I quote tweeted it. Oh, we got to go down. You know, I do live tweet games a lot, so it does make a lot of sense here. Anyway, he had some nasty 199. It was ridiculous. I could have sworn it was in this area. Here it is. Jose Alvarado threw 7 sinkers in the 8th inning. 98, 98, 99, 100, 99, 100, 99. It is just absolutely ridiculous that is what you get out of one of your bullpen arms. But if you constantly have to go to him over and over and over again, is that going to be the same results that you get? Well, my guess would be no, but we'll find out. All right, so with that being said, one last time, let's go back to the batter's box and open up the questions to the people, to everyone in here. Yes, as you can tell, I hit the wrong button at one point. But all right, your comments and your thoughts as we anticipate this matchup here. I am pumped up. Now, we got some guys. Let's go Mets. Braves are still going to win the division. LOL Philadelphia. I mean, LOL Mets. I mean, look, you're a Mets fan coming in here, and you're going to make it seem as if the Mets haven't been the Mets in so damn long. Y'all aren't beating deGrom. Well, I mean, let's be realistic. Everyone knows this is an uphill battle. I don't think anyone truly sits here and without any sort of skepticism is going to say, you know what's going to happen? They're just going to annihilate deGrom with ease. No one in their right mind ever said that to begin with. So to come in here and act as if, that's the storyline and that's the headline, everyone's fully aware of deGrom versus Matt Moore puts it in favor of the New York Mets. Is anyone disagreeing with that statement? Now, that doesn't ultimately mean you're automatically going to win. I just watched Garrett Cole lose to the Toronto Blue Jays. I see star pitchers fall. Let's go through the win total of Jacob deGrom. All right? Let's go through history with Jacob deGrom. He doesn't get run support a lot. It's a shame. This is a new era of Mets football. Maybe. That is funny. I'm a Mets fan, but I think you guys have a shot this season for last place. That's like a 4-year-old joke. Maybe even 5-year-old joke. Right? Let's get a little bit crazy. Let's get a little bit dialed in here. All right, Quinn wants to know, does Bryce Harper have an MVP-like season in order to make the playoffs? Does he have to have? No. Absolutely not. And just like I brought up Rhys Hoskins stats, I will bring up Bryce Harper stats, as well. No. Bryce Harper does not need to have an MVP-type season. In 2019, Bryce Harper hit, I'm trying to go back to a season where it was a little bit more of a full season. His first year here, he gave you a 260 batting average, an 882 OPS, 99 walks, so basically 100 walks. Did strike out a little bit more for my liking that I would like him to have. 114 RBI and 35 home runs. It is the very similar response to what we had with the conversation of Rhys Hoskins. No, Bryce Harper does not have to be the MVP of the league for this team to be in the playoffs. No, he does not. You have enough surrounding pieces where you don't have to force one man to play godlike. Now, if he does, it will raise this team's expectations even higher. But if JT is a good... Look, it's pretty simple to me. If Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm, and Didi Gregorius, your 2 through 6 hitters, if those players are good versions of themselves, good versions, not even the best version of themselves. I'm not saying the best versions of themselves, but I'm saying an above average version of themselves. So just playing good baseball. They're giving you good, consistent baseball for 162. From a batting and hitting perspective, that will probably be good enough to get you in the playoffs. You don't need anyone to play godlike. That's the difference in actually having a roster that has good talent on it. Of course, having that player play unbelievable definitely does change your team. But no, you don't need it because you have a more professional roster with major league assets surrounding such a big name and a big face like Bryce Harper. I truly do believe that. But that is an interesting question, and there's a lot involved with it for sure. What else do we have here? I think the Phillies get the dub, and I think Harper hits a walk-off 4-3. I would be super pumped up if afterwards we go on the post-game show and we end up having Bryce Harper hitting a ding and Bryce Harper hitting a walk. I guess you didn't really say a walk-off home run. I interpreted it like a walk-off home run. But, yeah, I mean, that would be definitely, that would be something. You tell me you start off the season 4-0 with 4 straight victories, I'm super stoked. Nat wants to know if I'm concerned with his tendency to go with Roman at the end of games. I'm not. No, I'm not too concerned with anything. No, I'm not. I'm not yet. If it's something that I see constantly breaks it, like, here's the thing. It's not like, while I think Roman Quinn stinks and I think Roman Quinn sucks and Roman Quinn is clearly overpowered and overmatched at the plate, is Adam Hazley or Roman Quinn the difference in winning the baseball game? More times than not, no. Like, those two are not the difference in the game. How did your starting pitching do? How did your bullpen do? How did your batting order do? Were they able to get some hits? Were they able to produce? When they did get traffic on base and there was a guy on third base in the bottom of the 6th inning, did they execute? Whether that's 2 strikes and Alec Boehm is up and he's waiting for that perfect changeup or he's waiting for that perfect off-speed pitch and he drives it over the middle or he drives it down the first base line and he goes the other way with it. Do you get those? That's more of it than Roman Quinn or Adam Hazley That's more the question over those two. So, no, to answer your question, I don't think it gets down to that type of concern yet. If it ends up being more of a problem as I continue to watch Joe Girardi, then my expectations can maybe change. All right, what else do we got here? Is Lindor worth the money? Lindor is worth the money. To think that getting a player, it's like the same people that said Bryce Harper was overrated and overpaid. No, he's not. Is Lindor overpaid? No. Any of these players that get these monster moonshot contracts, Mookie Betts, no. Mike Trout, no. This is the nature, man. This is the nature. If you told me I could get Francisco Lindor for the deal that he signed for 10 seasons, sign me up every day. I'm signing that contract every single damn day. Francisco Lindor is a franchise guy. He's a centerpiece. He's one of the faces of baseball. He's one of the best players in baseball. He's dynamic. He's electric. He's a phenomenal leader. He's a great clubhouse guy. Absolutely 100% Lindor is worth the money. No doubt. Now, Jason is calling Matt Moore going 5 2/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, and 6 Ks. Phillies win 4-3. If you told me that is the stat line that you get out of Matt Moore, I think you'd have to be pretty damn satisfied with him going into the 6th, giving you 5 2/3, only allowing 2 runs. If that's Matt Moore's stat line, take away Phillies win 4-3. I appreciate the win selection and choosing the Phillies to get the W. But if you laid out a couple different options of what Matt Moore giving you realistic options, if that's what he gives you as your 4th starter, you're in the game. He gives you a chance. He's in the game. And then it goes back to one of the batter's box questions that I had before we got to the comments portions, and that is, will the bullpen be able to hold up? Because at that point, then, you're diving into your bullpen a little bit, and then how does that affect Game 2? And that would be more of a discussion for tomorrow's show, but with Chase Anderson, same thing. If he gives you 5, and then you got to go to your bullpen, and they have Stroman. Now you're starting to get into that conversation of how does one game impact the next game with the usage of the pen and having to be able to grind it out from that way for sure. So Jackson says he was at the game yesterday. I was at the game yesterday. For those who had the chance to get some tickets, trust me, boys, it's worth it. Yeah, I did have some family who went to the game. They had a great time. A beautiful afternoon just watching Zach Eflin deal. I'm sure it was a fantastic experience. Before I hopped on here for the show, I was watching a little bit of the Texas Rangers and the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays were just hitting home runs left and right. I don't know what the updated scores are right now. Maybe I'll check to kind of give you like a leaderboard, kind of check around the leaderboard here, but it's 6-1 Blue Jays. I'll tell you what, they had pretty much a packed barn in there, and it's kind of crazy, kind of scary, but at the same time, kind of nice to hear all the fans. But Texas is crazy. That's for sure. Texas is crazy. Jackson says, Gene has already had an impact, and in great days with the Mariners, he's batting .300. He's going to be up with the guys on base and can easily make an impact. Yeah, like Gene Segura, it's crazy because when you start attacking all of these players, you can honestly apply the same logic to everyone. Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, and even Gene Segura. Batting 7th is not batting 2nd. Being in the 2-hole is significantly different from your approach at that 7th spot in the lineup. And there were days where he hit 300. And his first year here in Philadelphia, he gave you around 280, and even then, he made a big impact on your team in the 2-hole. And when Andrew McCutchen went down, things definitely got ugly, things got bad, and he couldn't really find a true leadoff man a couple of years ago. And there was that huge monster domino effect that crushed what your team was going to be. They couldn't get that first guy on. I remember Kutch getting on, Segura getting a hit, Bryce Harper up. I mean, it was just a great flow of the offense. Every single game, Kutch scoring early. I mean, it was magnificent. When Kutch went down, you didn't really have that same flow because you lost that special leadoff guy, and it was sad that you couldn't find anyone to plug in and just hold their own and hold the lineup up at all. No one. You tried so many different options. You toyed with Bryce Harper. You toyed with a lot of different things. You couldn't execute it. It sucked. But with Gene Segura, it's the same conversation for all of these players. His role is different. His role doesn't have to be the same role that it was. For you to have Gene Segura as your 7th guy in the lineup, that's fucking awesome. It really is. That's a game changer compared to where he was in another spot in his career. He can still do some unreal damage. He can still give you some great contact. He can still hit for a very solid average. And you're right, there will be guys on base. So when he does have two guys on base in front of him, let's say Didi and Alec Boehm get on board, and you got a two, let's say, because I'm not going to say I expect Gene Segura to go back to 300 for him, but let's say he's 280 for him. All right, if he gives you 280 and Boehm and Didi are on base, that is unbelievable. And it seems like he kind of has that screw you mentality right now. And I don't want to overblow the walk up to the dish when they walked Didi Gregorius on purpose in the 10th inning when the Phillies were able to walk it off against the Braves. But there is something to be said about that killer attitude of, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I am going to win this game for my team. And, I just don't know if you had that same approach out of Gene Segura in last year and throughout, for sure. Just for anybody asking questions that are non-Philadelphia Phillies related, this is a Philadelphia Phillies pregame show. Just letting you know. Center field is a big problem from JP. Can't have two automatic outs with 8 and 9. Just to be clear, 9's not automatic if Zach Wheeler's out there. Zach Wheeler, when he's able to go the other way and Zach Wheeler's able to produce over the middle and he's squaring up the ball and he actually looks like a guy that has a little bit of athleticism to him and he's not one of those pitchers where he's just sitting there. You know, those pitchers that just sit there and it's like, yep, you're just going to look at every pitch, aren't you? All right, you can just continue to throw meatballs down here because I ain't swinging. 9 isn't automatic if your name is Zach Wheeler. All jokes aside, though, I don't think Adam Hazley has had ugly at-bats, but he also has squared up some nice pitches as well. I feel better about Hazley. To say that Hazley's an automatic out, I think that's unfair. Now, I'm not saying that I'm relying on him to be able to be a great version right now. I am seriously in that curiosity mode with Adam Hazley. I'm in that we got to find out. It's the experiment mode with Adam Hazley. We don't know. He's definitely not going to be an elite hitter by any means, but to say automatic out for Hazley, I don't know if I'm there yet. But also, there's not many 8-hole hitters. This goes back to, well, our 4 and 5 are going to be problems for us in the starting rotation. Yeah, most 4 and 5s are going to be problems for you. So let's go to 8 hitters. How many 8 hitters are just weapons, are studs, are guys that are hitting 300, guys that are hitting 292, guys that are hitting, 275? It's just not the nature of it. We are an 8-hole hitter for a reason. Majority of these teams have 8-hole hitters that are not necessarily the most powerful hitters in the league. That's why they're hitting there for a reason. So I'm not disagreeing with your mentality of center field isn't the sharpest. And when you look at flaws with this team, center field is one that you point out, no doubt about it. But also league-wide, yeah, there's a lot of teams that have issues in the 8-hole. Oh, don't give me the Maikel Franco. Oh, we're going Maikel Franco, 8-hole stud. Remember that? I remember all the Tom McCarthy calls after a Maikel Franco home run. Oh, the best 8-hole hitter in baseball. And I remember I was jumping up for joy around those times too, but here's my reaction thinking about that now. Oh, no, we're so dumb. We are dumb and stupid for the Maikel Franco 8-hole hitter. He's the best. Oh, no, we're doing this again. No, the best 8-hole hitter in baseball. We really did that to ourselves. That's how I feel when hearing about that all the time. Maikel Franco, 8-hole hitter, unreal. Now, Alexandre, I don't want to mispronounce the name. Alexandre, it does seem like. The deep playoff stuff, it is not the time for that type of conversation. Can they do this? Can they make the playoffs? Can they win the division? It's 3 games. 3 games into 162. So I am not going to apply that conversation to today. But there is a second part to this comment. Oh, by the way, Zach Eflin looked good. Yes, he did. What he was able to do with the sinker, what he was able to do with the 2-seamer, what he was able to do with his pitches. It's like now it's not only he has the stuff, but he is now starting to put away guys. And there's a difference between saying, hey, I'm just going to pitch for contact. And I love the fact that he's not afraid of it. And I've stressed that a lot. There's something to be said about not being afraid, which allows you to keep your pitch count down. But I also see something out of Zach Eflin where he's got that eye. He's got that dog in him. He's got that fight where you're not going to beat me. And it's like he had his pitches and his repertoire was solid, and then he's intensified each of his pitches. So if his sinker was a B, now it's an A minus. And if his two-seamer was what it was, and now it has the movement that it does, you're now in that A category. And when you look at his pitches and when he's able to locate it too, lower half of the zone, being able to make sure guys get weak contact. I mean, he's just intensified every area of his pitches where, in years past, it was, I like some of Zach Eflin stuff, to now it's, he can really be a 3. I mean, he can really be a serious 3 where you can rely on Zach Eflin now. And I truly feel that way. I mean, we haven't seen it other than the one start this season, but if you look at the full body of work of Zach Eflin from the time that he started here in Philadelphia and just studying his craft, not just talking about, we only did it one game, Brodes, and there's going to be hiccups along the way. Nola will have a hiccup. Wheeler will have a hiccup. Every pitcher in the history of the world will have a bad start, will have a bad outing. Garrett Cole had a bad outing. You're going to have bad outings. But when you look at what Zach Eflin has been each of his years, you really are starting to see a big jump, a huge jump in Zach Eflin. Thoughts on Jojo Romero not making the cut for the bullpen spot? I think he will. I think you will get to the point where only having one lefty in the bullpen is going to be an issue. And as you continue to play games and utilize Alvarado, you're going to have another lefty in the bullpen at some point. It's just inevitable. I would imagine at some point you will see a lefty in this pen for sure. For sure. Zach Wheeler hitting the 4-hole? Maybe not. Or maybe, I should say. Maybe. Do I think Bohm will ever move ahead of Reese in the lineup? Well, I mean, you have two totally different approaches here, right? I mean, I did hear that, maybe because you want to get your better hitters the most at-bats throughout, but I think they feel comfortable at Reese in the 2-hole. I don't know if looking at it that way is the right way to look at it. I think they truly do enjoy having him in that 2 spot for a reason. He does seem to have a little bit of some confidence there and feels comfortable in that spot. And a player like Rhys Hoskins who can overthink things, who can get a little invested into the mental side of the game and maybe think too much and just really get his brain overpowering himself sometimes. I think getting somewhere, keeping him comfortable in a spot where he knows what he's going to do. This is my job. I'm the 2-hole hitter. This is my role. It's, you know what you're doing every time you're going to the ballpark. You know what your identity is going to be. And that's not to say you can't ever try anything there ever, but I think for right now, you kind of just keep Reese in that spot for sure. And TJ, you're right. It's like you get him in the 2 spot. He can draw a lot of walks. He can put together nice at-bats. And then you get Harper, you get JT. It's all about the 2 to 6 to me. You end up having Reese, Bryce, JT, Bohm, Didi. That stretch of your batting order is something that can change the outcome of games. So, for sure. And just to look exactly at the full on lineup for today, I did see it earlier, but we can, let's see here, where Jim Salisbury's normally the one that I go to. He's my go-to guy here of NBC Sports Philadelphia. Andrew McCutchen, Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, Real Muto, Alec Bohm, Didi Gregorius, Gene Segura, Adam Hazley, and Matt Moore. Can't wait. So, all right, this is Leading Off with Brodes. Just a few words before we close down the stream. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. I'm super pumped up to do these Phillies pregame live streams, Leading Off with Brodes. Baseball is clearly a passion of mine, and to be able to lead you into some Phillies baseball, it's definitely super exciting for me, and I can't wait to continue to do this throughout the season on weekday games. So Monday through Friday, you will have Leading Off with Brodes. I had some questions. Hey, Brodes, how come you're not doing on Saturday and Sunday games? I got some things going on. I normally host on the Fanatic on the weekends, and there's a lot happening. This is during the week, Monday through Friday, Leading Off with Brodes, and that's what we will do. And if you haven't already, there's a few things I want to let you know on Twitter. At Brodes81, I'm giving away a Bryce Harper jersey on Wednesday, pinned at the top of my profile, at Brodes81. Make sure you get a chance. Go get your spot. Go enter. You will have a chance to win a Bryce Harper jersey. The winner will be DM'd. Also, go to Twitter, at Brodes Media, at Brodes Media. Make sure you go toss that account a follow. I'm going to be implementing way more things. Myself and Shelfie. He is a big MLB The Show streamer on YouTube, Twitch. Shelfie does a phenomenal job. We are working together, and he is going to do something called Shelfie Showdown. Every single series, he will break down that series that will be implemented on Twitter for right now at Brodes Media. So make sure you go toss that a follow. The first episode is out. It's 2 minutes long. It's so damn solid. I can't wait to continue to do that as well. So thank you, everyone, for hanging out here with Leading Off with Brodes. Enjoy the baseball game. I know I'm really looking forward to it. There's nothing worse than a Mets jersey. I can't stand looking at a Mets jersey. And the fact that they have Francisco Lindor and a little bit of buzz with Steve Cohen and the new regime, and knowing that Mets fans take over Citizens Bank Park as well, which sucks. Not happy about it. It is inevitable. There's a little bit of some energy surrounding this matchup, but just seeing that jersey, seeing that Mets jersey. So thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I'll catch you guys later on. Thank you for watching Leading Off with Brodes.